Good day, and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan Metal video. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at the Extreme Z battle for the full power strength Frieza. So obviously, this is a brand new LR Extreme Z battle. So this is obviously a new legendary Extreme Z Awakening. In terms of Frieza's Extreme Z Awakening, it's interesting and we'll take a brief talk about it. But yes, the effective category here is Planet Namek Saga. It's also Super AGL and Extreme AGL. Obviously, there is the AGL Gohan and Krillin LR. There's the AGL Frieza LR. There is the INT Goku and Vegeta LR. There is the INT Super Saiyan Goku LR. There's a lot of decent LR options. Remember, for LR Extreme Z Awakenings, you need to make sure that you use the legendary power link, as that's the only real way to get damage done. So it's very, very important that basically you make sure you can activate legendary power, and that way you'll be able to obviously handle the event. Now Frieza's EZA looks pretty interesting. He becomes 150% full power lead, which seems a little bit underwhelming. But he gains a ton of defense. He gets 40% extra defense at the start of turn, plus an additional 40% when performing a super attack, and attacks effective against all types if it is a ultra super attack. So he now has a total boost of 208% defense, which is pretty decent. Not to mention he will raise his defense on his 12 and his 18 key for one turn. So in terms of effective categories, obviously Planet Namek Saga is the effective category here, and obviously with the Planet Namek Saga, there's a couple decent options. So in terms of lead for the Planet Namek Saga, you only really have, you have Captain Ginyu, you have the AGL LR Frieza, and you also have the Strength Planet Namek Goku. I'm going to be using the Strength Namek Goku, as he obviously recently got his EZA, so I feel like using him could be a lot of fun, and so I'm going to try and utilize him as best I can. In terms of great units that I think I should definitely mention, obviously the INT Super Saiyan Goku is a fantastic unit that you can utilize. There is also obviously the free-to-play LR physical Captain Ginyu alongside the free-to-play Prime Battle Strength Frieza. There's also the AGL LR Frieza, and there's just a whole bunch of options. You can even use the Tech Ginyu, although if you're on the global side, you don't have his EZA yet, so he's not going to do as well. Now, in terms of team, I use a much more free-to-play friendly team near the end of the video, so skip to the second part of the video if you want to see that. But essentially, I remove the AGL LR Frieza and I remove the INT Goku and Vegeta LR, and instead I replace them with the Prime Battle Frieza, and I also use Chase. I think it's Chase that I use. But yes, essentially you can complete this event pretty easily without actually having any LRs. You will need the Prime Battle Frieza, and you will need him EZA'd, ideally to be able to take on this event. So I suggest that you at least have the Prime Battle EZA Frieza. It's also going to help you if you have the physical EZA Ginyu, although that's not entirely necessary. So you don't need to have him, but you can have him if need be. One of your pairings will be the Frieza and the Prime Metal Frieza, and then the other pairing will just be Ginyu Force members sitting on the opposite rotation. Of course, you need legendary power to do damage, but you do not need legendary power to tank, and that's why we bring the Berta, because he's got AGL type, and he's also relatively tanky if you get enough orbs. Not to mention, he also has that built-in evasion if there's a Ginyu Force ally on the team. So yeah, obviously now we're at stage 10. I'm going to just run you through the team. At this point, you can't seal, can't stun, can't attack lower, can't interrupt. All of that useful stuff you cannot do. Of course, Planet Namek Saga and Super AGL and Extreme AGL are still the best option here. But you can see we've changed the team up a little bit. We've now got the Dodoria and Zarbon unit, and we've also got the Prime Battle Frieza unit. Now, it's very crucial that you obviously get the AGL LR Prime Battle Frieza linked up with the Strength Prime Battle Frieza, sorry, the AGL LR Full Power Frieza linked up with the Strength Prime Battle Frieza. That's going to generally make your run a lot smoother, I want to say. But yeah, otherwise everything handles pretty well. Jace really helps with being able to see super attacks. Berta can tank really well, especially if you get some orbs. Then you've also got obviously the AGL Full Power Frieza, who's not going to take damage. The Prime Battle Frieza does take a little bit of damage, but nothing too crazy. At least nothing too crazy from what I can see, which I think is obviously pretty damn good, at least from my perspective. So yeah, I think this is a really solid kind of run, basically. I think overall it's a pretty easy to build team. It's relatively easy to put together. You have a lot of decent Namek Saga options. You've got a great free-to-play option in all of the Ginyu Force units. And then you also obviously have the Prime Battle Frieza and the LR Physical Ginyu that you can utilize. And you can see that. We're using possibly the worst lead out of the three, still one of the worst leads. We're using Physical Ginyu, which is a battlefield currency unit. The only summonable unit we are using is actually our lead. The rest are all entirely free to play, and the team runs more than fine that way. You can even go one step further. You could potentially use the Ginyu as a lead, the Physical Ginyu as a lead. He's 120% lead. And then you can also obviously utilize another Ginyu Force member as essentially as the filler in for obviously the lead. I think for the most part it's a fairly straightforward kind of run. I think Frieza's Extreme Z Battle isn't the hardest, and I think most players should be able to find a decent enough workaround. Honorable mentions to Namek Goku for critting all the time, and obviously Nail, who's just a really good tanking unit, especially when you're facing Wicked Bloodline units, etc. So he's obviously a super duper solid option. But basically a super duper solid. Basically just a really good option. Essentially to have. So I think everything goes more than fine here, and I think Frieza's EZA, we'll chat about it in his review video, but I think it's a tiny bit lackluster. I think he still is going to do very big damage when you factor in how his passive is going to work, but I think you do also have to factor in that he still is a unit that thrives on being super low on health. I think they could have made him have more defense as well when his HP drops down. I just don't see why that's an issue. I feel like it could definitely have been a thing, and just add in the 40% defense as he drops lower, because as you get lower you want to have more defense. There is a mission. It is for clearing stage 7, which we do or did with this team, so very aptly. There's no time challenge to it like the Extreme Z Battle for Strength Planet Namek Goku, and I think overall it's going to be worth it. We'll definitely take a look, but I do think it's always worth EZAing these units, even if they aren't necessarily going to be world breakers. They still are incredibly solid. But that's it from me. If you need more help, leave a comment. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care and bye.